There is a tin can sitting on the shelf above my root cellar door. It has been there for 11 years. Inside that can is a small block of something that costs less than $1, surrounded by a handful of dried herbs from my garden, and one ingredient you have in your kitchen right now. Every rat that has tried to move into my farmhouse in the last 11 years has turned around and left. Not one trap, not one dead animal to clean up, not one drop of poison anywhere near my dogs, my chickens, or my grandchildren who crawl on this floor. My name is Hope Yoder. I have lived on this farm for most of my life. We raise chickens, grow most of our own food, and we keep this property the way my grandmother kept hers, with what we grow, what we know, and what we make with our own hands. I am going to show you exactly what is in that tin can, and where I put it, and why it works. And then I am going to tell you something that should make you angry, which is that the pest control companies in your area have known about this for decades, and they would very much prefer you keep paying them $200 a visit, rather than spend 20 minutes and $3 handling it yourself. Stay with me. By the time you are done reading this, you will know how to make your home, your barn, your garage, and your yard somewhere that rats and mice simply do not want to be. No poison, no snap traps breaking your fingers at midnight, no dead animals rotting inside your walls, and nothing that will harm your dog, your cat, your chickens, or the children in your house. Let me start with what most people get completely wrong. People think they have a rat problem. They do not have a rat problem. They have an invitation problem. Every rat and mouse that has ever moved into a home was invited in by three things: a way inside, a reason to stay, and no reason to leave. Fix those three things, and you do not have a rat problem anymore. The pest control company does not want you to know that, because if you understood it, you would not need them. Here is what rats are actually looking for when they move in. Warmth. Somewhere between 65 and 80 degrees. Food. And not just your pantry. Dog food in an open bag. A single unwashed bowl in the sink. Crumbs behind the stove. A compost bin with a loose lid. Bird seed in a bag in the garage. That is a banquet. Water. A slow drip under a cabinet. A bowl left out for the dog. Condensation on a cold pipe. Enough. And shelter. A gap at the base of your door the width of a pencil is enough for a mouse. A hole the size of a quarter is enough for a rat. A pile of wood against the house is a 5-star hotel to them. That is it. That is the whole game. You are not fighting an animal. You are withdrawing an invitation. This is what we have always done. My grandmother walked the perimeter of this farm every spring and every fall, with a coffee can of steel wool and a jar of black pepper paste, and she sealed every gap, every crack, every space where the foundation met the wood. She called it reading the house. She knew where they wanted to come in before they did, because she knew what they were looking for. And in the places she could not seal, the barn, the root cellar door, the gap under the old smokehouse, she had another method entirely, which I am going to show you in just a moment. The English want to kill the rat after it has already moved in, nested, and had a litter inside their walls. We make them never want to come in at all. Their way costs a monthly contract and a house full of poison that your dog can find. Our way costs an afternoon and a handful of things from your kitchen. Here is what I want you to do this weekend. You will need 5 things. Peppermint oil, the real kind, not the candy kind. 100% pure peppermint essential oil. You can find it at any health food store or online. A small bottle runs about $8. Steel wool, not the soapy kind, for dishes. Plain steel wool, hardware store, about $4 for a large pack. Expanding foam sealant, the kind that comes in a can with a straw nozzle. Any hardware store, about $6. White vinegar, you already have this. Dried peppermint, dried lavender, and dried cloves, from your spice cabinet or garden. We will get to why in a minute. First step, read the house. Go around the entire outside of your home. Get low. Look at every place where pipes come through the wall. Every gap where the siding meets the foundation, the space under every door, around every window frame, where the dryer vent exits the house, where cables come in. Bring a pencil with you. Any gap that a pencil can fit through can let a mouse in. Any gap the size of a quarter can let a rat in. You will find more than you expect. Most houses have 8 to 15 entry points that nobody has ever thought about. Second step, seal everything. For small gaps, stuff them tightly with steel wool first, then spray the expanding foam over it. Why steel wool? Because rats can chew through wood, drywall, soft plastic, and caulk in about 40 minutes. They cannot chew through steel wool. It cuts their mouth and they stop. The foam holds the steel wool in place and seals the air gap that was drawing their attention in the first place. Rats find entry points partly by smell. Warm air leaking out of your house in winter smells like exactly what they are looking for. Seal the air gap and you remove the signal. Third step, remove the invitation. Dog food and cat food go in sealed metal containers tonight, not Ziploc bags, not the paper bag they came in, a container with a lid that latches. Birdseed in the garage goes in a metal garbage can with a lid. The compost bin gets a lid if it does not have one. The space behind and under your stove gets wiped down with white vinegar this weekend. The smell of old food grease is a signal that travels a long distance. Vinegar neutralizes it. Fourth step, the tin can method. This is what my grandmother did and what I still do in every building on this property. Take a small tin can or a mason jar. Put inside it a cotton ball soaked in peppermint oil. Add a small handful of dried cloves. Add a few sprigs of dried lavender or dried rosemary if you have it. Put the lid on loosely or punch a few small holes in the top so the scent can breathe. Place one of these in every corner of your basement, one in the back of every cabinet under your sinks, one in your garage, one near every potential entry point you found but could not fully seal. Now here is why this works, and it is not folk medicine. There is real science here. Rats and mice navigate primarily by smell. Their nose is their map. They follow scent trails to food, back to the nest, and toward anything that smells like a safe place to be. Peppermint oil contains menthol and menthone, which are overwhelmingly strong to a rodent's nervous system. Not painful, not harmful, just completely overwhelming. Imagine someone put a foghorn next to your ear every time you walked into a room. You would find another room. That is what peppermint oil does to a rat's sense of direction. Cloves contain eugenol, which has the same effect, and which has been used as a rodent deterrent in grain storage for centuries across dozens of cultures, including ours. The lavender is not decoration. It extends the effective range of the other scents and adds a layer of confusion to any scent trail a rodent was trying to follow. Together, these three things turn a corner of your basement into a place that a rat's nose tells it is dangerous. It does not hurt them. It does not poison anything. Your dog can sniff the jar and nothing will happen. But the rats will choose another house. Refresh the cotton ball with a few drops of peppermint oil every 4 to 6 weeks. That is the maintenance. 5 minutes. A few drops of oil. Now I want to stop here for a moment because I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, Hope, I have heard of peppermint oil before. I tried it. It did not work. And I believe you, because most people use it wrong. They put a few drops on a cotton ball in one corner of the kitchen, and then wonder why the mouse is still living behind the refrigerator. This method only works as part of the full system. If you seal the entry points, but skip the scent deterrents, they find another way in. If you put out the scent deterrents, but leave the food sources open, the hunger wins over the discomfort. If you remove the food sources, but leave the entry points open, new ones move in within weeks. It is a 3-part system. All 3 parts together is what makes it work. My grandmother never did just one of these things. She did all of them, every season. And in 40 years on this farm, she never once had to call an exterminator. Before I go further, I want to tell you about something. Everything I have just described, the sealing method, the scent deterrents, the source removal, these are part of a larger system of knowledge that my community has built up over generations. Not just for rats, for every pest, for soil health, for keeping a garden producing without chemicals, for the plants that replace half the medicines in your cabinet, for preserving food without electricity. Last year I sat down and I wrote all of it out. Every system, every method, everything my grandmother knew and her grandmother knew before her. It is called The Amish Garden Secret. It is 2 volumes, 37 complete systems in the first volume, 12 more in the second volume, which covers the medicinal side of what we grow. Things like natural pain relief, immune support, remedies my family has used for generations before there was a pharmacy on every corner. It also comes with 3 guides, a complete healing plant index, a 12-month garden calendar, and an adaptation guide for older folks who need lower effort methods. Here is the part I want you to think about. The average American family spends close to $7,000 every single year on pest control, lawn chemicals, store-bought produce, and medicines for things that plants and simple methods can handle. This book costs $32. One time. You keep it. You use it. You pass it down to your children the way this knowledge was passed down to me. The link is in the description below. If what I have shown you in this video saved you one pest control call, it has already paid for itself 10 times over. Now let me finish with the barn and the outdoor spaces, because that is where most people miss things. The barn and the garage are almost always where a rat problem starts, before it moves into the house. Everything I described above applies there too. Seal the gaps, remove the food sources, place the scent jars. But for the outdoor spaces, there is one more thing. Spearmint along the foundation. Plant spearmint in pots or directly in the ground along the base of your home, your barn, your shed. Not sweet mint, spearmint, the stronger variety. It spreads aggressively, which is why I keep it in pots on the property I care about, but along a fence line or a barn wall, I let it run. The scent off the living plant is constant. Rain activates it. Heat activates it. You do not have to refresh it. The plant does the work on its own. We have had spearmint growing along the base of our old barn for 30 years. The last rat nest we found in that barn was 31 years ago. That is not a coincidence. Barn cats are the other thing. And I know not everyone wants a cat, but if you have a barn and you have a rat problem, a barn cat is the oldest and most effective solution on this planet. Not a house cat that you bring outside. A working cat. A cat that lives in the barn, hunts for its share of its food, and considers the barn its territory. They do not eliminate the rats through hunting alone. The smell of an active predator in a space changes rodent behavior entirely. Rats and mice can smell a cat the same way they can smell peppermint oil. Their instinct says leave. Most of them do. Let me give you the full weekend plan so you know exactly what to do. Saturday morning. Walk the entire outside of your house and every outbuilding with a pencil, steel wool, and expanding foam. Seal every gap. This takes 2 to 3 hours, and you will only do it once. Saturday afternoon, make your tin cans. 5 for the house, 2 for the barn or garage. Takes 30 minutes. Clean behind the stove, under the sink, and the inside of every cabinet that touches an exterior wall with white vinegar. Move all dry pet food and birdseed into sealed metal containers. Sunday, plant spearmint along your foundation if you have the space. That is it. Total cost the first time, under $30. Total time, about half a day. Result, a property that rats and mice look at, smell, and decide is not worth the effort. And once the word gets out among them, because they do communicate through scent trails and avoidance behavior, your property stays off their list for a very long time. Rats are not stupid. They are actually very cautious animals. They test new food for days before committing to it. They remember places that made them uncomfortable and tell others through scent markers. Use that against them. Make your property a place that every scout rat that finds it reports back as dangerous, unwelcoming, and not worth the trouble. That is what this system does. It does not kill them. It convinces them to go somewhere else. And when every home on your street is using chemicals and traps and spending $200 a month on contracts, your house, with its $3 peppermint jars and its steel wool corners, is going to be the last place any rat in the neighborhood chooses, because you made it unwelcoming before they ever got inside. That is how we have always done it, not because we are clever, but because we had no choice. When there is no hardware store to drive to and no exterminator to call, you figure out what actually works. And what works is this. Tell me in the comments where you live and what kind of problem you are dealing with. Rats or mice or both, inside or outside. I read every one. And if you put out the tin cans this weekend, come back and tell me what happened. I want to know. The link for the book is below if you want the full system. All 49 methods, everything I know, $32, and it pays for itself the first time you do not call the exterminator. Next time I am going to show you what my grandmother kept in her pantry that made her kitchen completely ant-proof for 60 years. And it is something you already own. Until then, seal the gaps, walk the house, trust the plants. They have been doing this longer than any of us.